Hi guys, welcome back to Full House. We're continuing our look at our Minecraft world. You can see Wayne Manor and the GCPD, which we covered in our first two episodes. I'm here. My name is Jericho, and I'm here with my wife, Science Entry.
Hello.
So this episode of Full House is going to be a little bit different. We both had our own projects that we worked on for a while, so I'm going to be talking about mine, and then Cyan will take over and talk about hers. So if any of you have ever played BioShock Infinite, it begins like it always does with a lighthouse. So I decided to recreate that lighthouse as best as I could in Minecraft. And there are way more impressive ones on YouTube. I'm no expert, but for my rudimentary Minecraft skills, I was really happy with it. So as the game begins, you're in a rowboat with two twins who you later learn are named the Lutesses, and they drop you off with little explanation of what's going on. So you begin to approach this lighthouse as the only object on your horizon. So right here you have there's just a little shack, just like in the game. I tried to, as much as possible, add items to get things kind of close. There are certainly plenty of things that didn't quite match up, but I did as best as I could with it. So as you approach in the game, you see a note. I think it's attached to the door with a knife. Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt. This is your last chance. So I have that with a sign here. And as you enter the lighthouse, a big theme of the game is the oppression of religion, and that religious theme begins right at the beginning with crosses everywhere. So I denoted that with the torches on all my walls. So this is supposed to be a baptismal pool that you can dip your hand in if you so choose in the game. And all these are lines of scripture that were written on a cross stitch. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Like on a pillow. On little signs on the walls, so it has sort of a homey feel. So on this level of the lighthouse, there was a lot of just kind of random bric-a-brac around. So I just put there was a bed, and I just put whatever items to sort of emulate that feel. I think there were some barrels in the actual game,
And a map.
and yes, and a map on the wall. So I put a real map that was filled in, but I guess I haven't quite gone everywhere yet, so it's a little bit incomplete. To thine own land shall I lead thee. On this floor, there's a dead body, so the best I could do was a trail of blood in redstone dust, saying, "Do not disappoint us." So Booker is on this mission, and he doesn't know what for, as he finishes climbing the lighthouse. One last pair of crosses, and up to the roof. And in the game, it's the first little puzzle, which is hardly a puzzle. So you have the scroll, the key, and the sword. And the Lutesses, along with a gun, give Booker a note that teaches him how to solve the puzzle. So you input the right combination, sit in the chair, and you blast off skyward into the flying city of Columbia, where the story of BioShock Infinite begins. So that is my build of the lighthouse. If you're interested, look up the opening to BioShock Infinite on YouTube and see how closely I was able to get it. I really enjoyed BioShock Infinite. A lot of people thought that there was it's called ludonarrative dissonance, where the story that they were trying to get across with like it's all about religion and the choices or lack thereof in a person's life. But then all it was just shooting and looting the whole game. But I totally disagree. I think the story was very well told, and it was a worthy follow-up to BioShock, which is one of my very favorite games. If they ever remake either of them for the PS4, that will definitely be a future full playthrough. So that was my lighthouse. I'm going to hand things over to Cyan, who is going to go over the build she was working on as I was doing this.
Okay, so the build I was working on was a Funhouse, basically made by and for Joker. So couldn't really figure out exactly how to do it, like what sort of ideas to put in. But one thing I knew I wanted to do was a roller coaster ride, so I will take you on that ride real quick. So we're approaching the Funhouse through the desert, and we have our little crazy ride.
There's all sorts of details on the walls, the spirals and the Joker's giant grin and all.
Yeah, as he said, there's our Joker's smile and some I tried to get a feeling of vertigo in here, that you can sometimes get from a Funhouse. Since I don't have mirrors or anything like that, I figured the best thing I can do would be to have some weird distortions, a lot of spirals, a lot of swirls, and just give it this bigger than life feel.
I think the effect is really good, especially when you look up at the ceiling with the shadows of the and the light. It makes it really dizzying and hard to really tell what's going on.
So this is all wool, which I sheared from our poor little sheep down in the farm, and that took a while. So basically, I was just riding this track back and forth, to get wool and to place wool for hours on end.
So we've arrived back at Remembrance Hill, and we may as well explain why that has its name, as we have a few minutes left in today's episode, and this was something we worked on together, so we'll both be commenting on it. We're on our way now to our iron golem farm, which made all the iron for the bat signal and all these tracks that cover our entire world, made it all possible. I don't know exactly what the impetus was to make it. I think back at that time we were just having trouble keeping up with the tools, right? Like we didn't really.
Well, it was the tools, and it was I had the idea that I wanted a mine track around the entire perimeter and going across it, and that takes a lot of iron. Plus the bat signal on top of the GCPD needed a lot of iron. So we went online and found a tutorial of how to make an iron golem farm, and ours is a little different.
It's screwed up.
Yeah.
So the idea is this flow of water knocks okay, the way that the game reads a house is a door with an overhanging block, and if there's a house, a villager can spawn, or a villager can survive. So it looks like there's only a few, but there's actually, upwards of 20 villagers trapped in that 1-by-1 spot. And that's enough villagers and houses to spawn iron golems, which will fall in the radius of this pool, which funnels down below. But sometimes they get trapped because our design was not exactly how we found it. We sort of had to make do, especially down here. This is almost completely unrelated to what we had found online. So they funnel down here.
And they get trapped behind these pistons. So we can release the pistons here and let them fall into the lava, which they are tall enough to hit, but we are not. So then eventually they have a lot of health, so eventually they die and drop iron bars and poppies sometimes.
So the good of the pistons is they'll just all collect at the bottom here, so we can just, whenever we're ready, because if we just let them fall, the items would despawn. So we just keep them trapped until we're ready, and then undo the pistons, and we can collect it from the hopper.
Yeah, and we actually had the pistons set up before we were able to make hoppers.
Yeah, theoretically, we don't even need the pistons now because the hoppers would collect them, but we've been having trouble making the pistons work properly, so we haven't been wanting to risk it. But as you can see, the dividends, almost 3 full stacks of iron.
So we also have, right over the hill here, our horse paddock. I'm just a huge animal lover, and I got really, really excited when they added horses to Minecraft. So I got it in my head that I needed one of every kind. So they have a few different patterns and a few different colors, and there is supposed to be one for each pattern and color. So I'm not quite there, but I'm very, very close.
And every single one of these needed to be ridden with a saddle,
I had to
so
tame
wherever they were.
everyone and get it actually in the paddock.
So we're almost out of time for today's episode, but to wrap up, we'll finish describing why we call it Remembrance Hill. So in addition to dropping the iron, we sometimes get poppies. Sometimes the golems are spawned with poppies in their hands, which, if left to their own devices, the AI uses to befriend the villager children. You'll see them handing it to the smaller villagers. So sometimes that'll happen, and instead of giving a flower to a child, they just get trapped in lava and murdered at our convenience, so we can use the materials of their body to build railroads.
So we got more than a little guilty feeling about that, and just decided to actually plant the poppies that some of them drop on the hill when we come back from our savage slaughters.
You can now see in creeping horror how covered this hill is, and you need to know that we didn't think of this idea until well into having the golem farm. This was, I mean, probably at least a week of real time, and now it's almost completely covered, so there you go. And it's only a fraction of golems that spawned with them in the first place, so that's Remembrance Hill. Much like the Transcontinental Railroad, our mine cart was greased by, you know, the blood of the innocent. But, I mean, what are you going to do? So this is Remembrance Hill. Thank you guys so much for watching. This will wrap up another episode of Full House. Thank you to Science Century for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
And look forward to the next episode. I plan for this series to be every Sunday, every other Sunday, as often as we can make the time in our schedules. So thank you for watching. Please leave a like and a comment if you liked it, or a dislike and a comment if you didn't like it, and how we can improve it for the future. Stick around, subscribe, catch one of my other series, and thank you guys so much once again for watching. And with that, we're out of here. We don't know about you guys, but we are full.